All right, Melissa, I'm taking a look at your project draft from week 5, and let's see how you did here. So first thing I noticed, of course, is that you're using APA, so that's good. Now your title here needs to actually be something different from the article's title because that's I mean, sort of plagiarism if you just use the same title they used. So you could just add to it something like analysis of an article, and then a semicolon or a colon, and then put take a break. That might be okay. And make sure you capitalize all the words in the title too. It should be a capital B here for break. All right. Everything else up here looks good, and you want to do the same thing here. Fix that title so it matches whatever you do to fix the other one. Now, I already kind of glanced at this, and you've got the whole thing centered. So everything you should actually have the all the paragraphs. The rest of the paper should be left margin justified with the first line tabbed in like you do seem to have here. And take a break here should be centered on the page. It looks like it's not quite to the right enough. It's not quite centered. Also, this excess spacing here, you want to remove that. It should all be double spaced all the way through. All right, let's see now how you do with the actual stuff here that we need to look at. Topic. Okay, stress is truly unavoidable in the reality of daily life. In this topic, the author talks about the importance. Okay, so you don't want to just start off by talking about the author without actually introducing the article title by its full title and the author's full name. So you want to use the exemplar, and it seems like you probably haven't used the exemplar here. So that's something that you really just have to do. You have to use the exemplar. It's a requirement, okay? Um, so this you should have maybe another sentence here kind of talking about what this elaborating on this idea that you started with, right? Elaborating on that first sentence, and then get into introducing the article and its author by the full title and author's name, full name, and then let that just touch a little bit on the article like you have done here. But you got to make sure you add the name and stuff in there. And also, you got to you got to be careful with run-on sentence like this. Kind of runs on a little bit, um, so you're going to need to make sure you think about how to use commas. For example, there should be a comma right here after topic. In this topic, the author talks about the commas. Kind of the rule of thumb with commas is they indicate where there's a natural slight pause. So when you hear me read this, you can kind of sense that pause is there, right? In this topic, the author talks about. So that's that slight pause tells you there should be a comma there. Um, so maybe, yeah, and this is a little bit sort of a run on here. So just work on how you can maybe write that a little bit better. Purpose of the text is to inform audience in some way. Okay. All right, so you don't have a proper thesis statement here either. So you got to make sure you use the exemplar. I'm pretty sure the biggest issue here is going to be that you're not actually using the exemplar. So you really absolutely have to use the exemplar to fix all of this. Okay, so you do touch on the topic, but you're basically saying it right out. You're like, in other words, you don't need to say the purpose of this text is to do blah blah blah. What you should be doing is you should just be weaving these elements, the topic, the genre, you should be weaving that into your writing in a more subtle way so that it's not like you're just writing to the rubric. That's not what you want to do. So you need to use the exemplar again, that's what's absolutely required, and you need to do that. Um, so and you talk, so you're writing here about what she did in the text. And another problem is it seems like you're basically writing about the topic of taking a break, rather than writing about what her article's strengths and weaknesses and why your new audience. So you should be writing to a specific new audience, and I can't see that either really here. So a lot of this stuff is unclear just because you're not using the exemplar. Well, I can say purpose. You covered the purpose but you did a little too directly like that. But I can't really see who your audience is now, because you talked about how she focused on seniors, but who are you focusing on now? So that's what you should be doing, is you're analyzing this article for your own chosen audience, and to let them know how they can maybe benefit from reading her article. Okay, so that's something that you got to make sure you clarify. Not real sure of if there's any historical context there. It's not really clear. Your core idea is not clear because of your thesis statement not really being the way it should be per the exemplar. So that's going to be another issue there. Let's see. Yeah, you're basically just talking about the same thing she already talked about in the article, because you're just talking about the topic rather than the qualities of the article and evaluating her article. Then you ended here without a real, you don't really have much use of any of the, you're not really quoting any of the stuff from the article, so you're not really providing much in the way of details, and really no evidence to back up your details, because you don't have any sources or anything. The only thing you do quote is what she said in here about Will Rogers. So that's not really what you should be quoting. You should be quoting from her article the things that prove to your audience why they should consider reading her article or not. Okay, your communication is not very clear just because of that same issue, all those same issues I've already mentioned. You didn't cite anything really at all in the article. And then this is not the way this should look. It should be done according to it should be done as a proper citation, done by as shown in the exemplar. Okay, so yeah, the biggest thing is what really boils down to is you've got to use the exemplar, Melissa, to make sure that you get this fixed and ready to go for the final project. Because in week 7, you're going to have to use this, your revised and best version of this as your part 1, and then part 2 will be your revised version of this to reach a second different audience of your own choosing. So if you have questions or need help with any of these things, just let me know. Otherwise, you absolutely just have to follow the exemplar. That's the key thing that you're missing and that you need to do. Okay? And I'm going to attach the exemplar for this assignment down here with your grading rubric so that you can use it to fix this paper. Okay? So that will do it for this video. And as I already mentioned, if you have questions or need help, please let me know.